Stand by. All right, everybody, so welcome back. So we do have with us this morning a very special guest. He is the newly elected president of the Trinidad and Tobago Unified Teachers Association, Mr. Crystal Bevan Ashe. Mr. Ashe, thank you very much for coming this morning. We do appreciate it.
Morning, Mr. Hopkinson. Morning to your viewership and the listening audience, and also those people streaming online and so on.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. So, Mr. President, let's begin this way, because I think that I'm sure that you have been in the vineyard toiling for a number of years, but I think that when people would have seen, well, here's what Crystal Bevan Ashe, she would have amassed a certain amount of votes and so on. So I suspect your colleagues, person in education, educators, they would be very familiar with you. Yeah. But to many, you may be not too a familiar face. So if we could, let's speak a little bit about you and as you introduce yourself to the public.
No problem at all, Marlon. Thank you very much. Simple individual. I started teaching 32 years ago. I started off from the OJT program, on-the-job training, which a lot of young people start in, right? So I want young people to be aware that it doesn't matter where you start. What it matters is where you end up at the end.
Yes.
So I started off at OJT, then an assistant teacher. I went to Kumaka RC. That was my first appointment. I don't know if you know where that is in Valencia. Kind of in the back of Go Toenail and so on, I think. Yeah. So then Western Boys in Port of Spain, Malabar RC, quite a number of schools, teacher one and so on. I went from assistant teacher to teacher one primary. Then I got promoted to head of department in Valencia. Then principal in Barataria. I was there for 11 years. Then I was promoted to school supervisor one in Northeastern Education District. I went up for the election. I want to say at this point in time, thank you to the membership of TTUTA for having that level of confidence in me, for having the foresight, because I'm not sure if you're aware that schools, this is the first time in the history of TTUTA that a school supervisor would have been elected to the position of any national officer, not just presidency, but in terms of being a national officer. Before, the constitution of TTUTA debarred supervisors from entering that realm. It's only in 2012 that after the Conference of Delegates, they took a decision and they said, listen, these are people that we will be representing. They pay their dues and so on, and they're also entitled to be national officers. So I'm basically making history here, and I'm humbled by it. Get a little goosebumps there just by saying it and so on, I think. It's still kind of sinking in. It's really humbling to know that the membership would have that level of confidence in me, and I just want them to know right now, saying it to the viewing and listening public and so on, that I will not let you down. I will work, I will do everything that I would have said on the campaign trail and so on, and now that campaigning is done, as I said in my inaugural speech, there are no teams, no independent candidates or anything like that. You know. We are one TTUTA. That is what we are, one collective body, and what we do is for the benefit of all teachers and especially our membership. That is what we do. We work vociferously to ensure that they get what is necessary in order so that they can give the students of our nation the best teaching, learning experience.
Yeah. Some may question, why did you take the decision to throw your hat in the ring? And I want to put it in this context, because I think that when anyone decides to offer themselves up for service, there has to be a reason, and there has to be an objective, and there has to be something that they would want to attain. So in that context.
Throughout my life, Marlon, I have always been one that if there's something to be done, and I am seeing it to be done, sometimes we unfortunately be in positions where we want to make a change. But you can't just make the change from the outside. You can't say, I want things to be changed, I would like it to be done in this particular way. But then you're sitting on the sideline, and all you're doing is saying it, but you're not really being part of the change. If it is that you want to be part of the change, well, as they say, throw your hat in the ring, get involved, get more involved. So I always encourage people, if it is that you're desirous of making a significant change in anything, feel free to get involved. So one of the things is that I was very, more or less comfortable. I reside in Sandy Grande. I worked in Sandy Grande, so basically walking distance. So I was more or less comfortable.
Yes.
But when I saw that I have a particular skill set that I could lend value to TTUTA, and at least I was approached to join a particular team, and we campaigned and so on. and this is the result.
Yeah.
I am just simply here to do my best, and strangely, it might sound a little bad, but I only know one way. I have a kind of bad habit. I only know to work hard, and I know to do things well. My grandfather,
that's a good habit.
No, my grandfather told me that. He said, Crystal, listen to me. If ever you're going to do things in life, you do it well or you don't do it at all. He also told me to make sure I wear a tie every day to teach. I said, Grandpa, I couldn't wear the tie because the classrooms are hot and so on and thing, but I'll make you a promise. If ever, at any point in time, I get into administrative position or beyond and so on, I'll wear a tie. And when I got into administrative position, I did wear it, and I've been wearing it since.
Yeah. So you are at the helm of TTUTA at a time where there continues to be niggling problems affecting education in Trinidad and Tobago. Of course, I know that you had recently spoken about negotiations, but there is, as it relates to staff shortages, I suspect at schools, the infrastructure of schools not in a very good state. In fact, some people may say it's a deplorable state, a lack of resources, school security, and the list goes on and on and on.
Exactly.
What are some of your top priorities?
Going forward, we are looking at, we have specific ones. So I would have written them down just to make sure. I don't want to forget anything and so on and thing, right? We have the UniMed plan. Now, this UniMed group health plan, which everybody will be a bit familiar with and so on and thing.
In fact, there has been protests concerning
it in a state of disarray. And you can't have people, you go into the medical practitioner, you're doing your medical procedure and so on and thing, you're submitting the claims, everything is on time and so on, and you're waiting years, literally years, to get a claim. And even if you're waiting years and you know the end result will be positive, at this point in time, teachers and other education practitioners, they're not sure. They're not sure if they'll be getting any money. That is the reality. And this is a bit unacceptable. So we are asking that, well, we have had discussions and things, even up to the 30th of September. The TTUTA met with the Labour Minister, and he assured TTUTA at that point in time that not only the government, but he himself will be working at it assiduously and so on. So we have not received any feedback as yet. I know it's only the 30th of September, so we're just reminding the minister at this point in time, I'll take the opportunity to kindly do so that he could reach out to TTUTA at some point in time if there's any change with that. So that's UniMed. We have a situation, Marlon, I'm not sure if you're aware. You have some students from UTT, USC, and so on and thing. Now, this thing dates back to 2009, 2010, around there. You have people 16 years. They would have been identified as candidates of choice to go to an educational institution. The Ministry of Education identified them, and they didn't identify themselves. So they sent to an institution. They were prescribed a curriculum, a course of work, and so on. They followed the instructions. They did what they had to do. They did everything that they were guided by the Ministry of Education to do. Lo and behold, when it is that they graduated, they were told that they couldn't be upgraded and put in the particular positions to continue their career and so on. So some of them would have specialized in secondary schools. They told them, you didn't qualify to go to secondary school. That's one. And these people were on scholarship, so they were being paid a salary while they were at the university. All this by the Ministry of Education, they're well aware. And the Ministry of Education, when they came out now, they told the students that they cannot even be upgraded or put back in, when they put back to the primary school, they can't be upgraded to teacher 1, which is the teaching equivalent when you would have gotten your diploma or your degree in a primary school. Yeah. How is it that they can't get that? Oh gosh, I didn't just go and identify some courses and just do it on my own or anything like that. You are the Ministry of Education. You have the University of Trinidad and Tobago. You would have had the University of Southern Caribbean and so on. You told me what to do. I followed your instructions. So you're talking about 16 years. So these people are living on a assistant teacher salary, which is basically 50% of what they would have been really receiving for 16 years, man. Yeah. And then you're saying every time tutor meets with you, you're saying that, well, we have to discuss and we have to see the way forward and the way forward. How many people have to die or teachers have to die and not receive their money and thing for us to decide, listen, let us make a decision. All right, there was a little blunder, there was an error, maybe we would have advised the students inaccurately or something like that. No problem, be a man, step up to the plate and do what you have to do. So we're simply asking the ministry, we're not trying to be boisterous or anything like that. But as I said in one of my speeches and so on, I'm a very calm individual. But when I represent TTUTA, I am no pussycat. I will roar like a lion. There's an appropriate time and place for everything. So if it is necessary for me to roar, I will roar. But it's something that's a little passionate to me, the UTT students, because you can't have people, when you go to the grocery and so on and Malan, nobody's going to say, well, all right, but he's a UTT student. You take a whole bag of grocery there now. Oh, gosh, man. These people have bills to pay. They have family commitments, financial commitments to meet. And remember, they would be more or less assistant teachers too. So would never be in line to be permanent. You will never receive a letter from Teaching Service Commission saying you are hereby permanent in the system. How can you go, so 15 years, and some of them would have been in the system before that, you're talking about 7 years or whatever the case is. You add that, how much years did they have to go before this thing can be resolved? So we're asking, let us find a solution, let us think, and the only solution is to upgrade them. All right, so they have been in the schools for, they come back out for 16 years. Within this 16 years, Marlon, these people would receive every year, on a 12-month, every 12 months, he receives something called a staff report. A principal has to do a staff report on every member of staff for them to get what is called an increment, which is a little salary, a little something more in your salary and so on, right? So I am saying simply this. If these people have had favorable staff reports over the years, what is the problem? If so, that means they're doing their job well.
Yes.
So if you're doing the job you're assigned to do well, why not upgrade them? At least give them the T1. If you say about the secondary school, you might not have done certain courses to meet the matriculation process or whatever the case is. All right, I understand that part. But at least give them the T1 status so that they can live a comfortable life as a human being, man.
Yeah.
Right? So that's the next thing. Timely payment of increments and so on. As I just indicated, increments are a 12-month period, but people, you're not aware sometimes, years you ain't get increments, so you're waiting for this money, and bam, when you get it, Marlon, they hit you a whole set of tax too.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like they're going to say, well, the purchasing power of your money now, Mr. Ashe, is less. So because of that, we are not going to tax you. We're going to that section of this payslip that says non-taxable, nothing like that. They hit the tax everything. You have to do your job, I understand, but what I'm simply saying is do it on time, because a lot of principals submit it on time. And then you have the ministry officials calling them and tell them it is not submitted or it was not submitted. Teachers have to go and do it over. And it is very important too, because if a teacher is retiring and let's say missing a few staff reports and so on, you actually have to go back to the school that you would have taught 20 years ago, you know,
yes,
to go and get somebody there to sign and stamp it and thing, to carry down to the ministry and so on. Those persons there present in the school, they would not have known you at that point in time. So they, what are they doing in truth and in fact, right? Mm-hmm. Administrative staff. We have a real issue that I'm not sure if you're aware. A lot of the schools, it's like Hollywood would have moved to the teaching service. Actors. So you have actors and actresses. So more than 80% of our schools, you have persons in the principal, vice principal, senior teacher, head of department, those positions, acting or either performing the duties. So the latest thing now is performing the duties. So a lot of the principals are being asked, they used to write acting before, after their name. Now they're being asked to write performing duties. What that means, Marlon, is that you are not entitled to any remuneration for that position. If Marlon Hopkinson picks up the phone and you call, let's say, I'll just use my old school's name, right? You call Baratari Boys RC, and you are calling to speak to the principal. You're not calling to ask the principal who's performing the duties. Nobody knows anything about that. When something happens to the Ministry of Education, when the ministry sends any sort of memorandum to they send it to the principal, they send it to, so if it is that you're performing the duties, you are actually doing the duties. So you should be compensated. Teachers of the opinion that you should be compensated for what you're doing. It is only fair, it is only right, it is only just.
Yes.
Right? So as I said, these sort of things, we have some serious issues, and TTUTA really would be more, we would have to go, we are considering our legal options. Let me just say it like that. We are considering our legal options. But this is not up to me. TTUTA has a structure, and the structure dictates that you have the General Council, the Central Executive, and so on, and we would meet from time to time, and it would be a collective decision. So the decision is not Crystal Ashe's decision. It is a collective decision. However, most of the time we would speak in unison, because we all would have experienced the same thing at some point in time.
Yes.
Right?
I know, Madam Producer, if you could give me some guidance here with the, all right, okay. Mr. President, I just have a few minutes again, maybe about 2 minutes.
Yes.
But I just want to touch on the issue of, because I know that you would have spoken about the 4% that TTUTA would have accepted. And I see in recent times, of course, where 10% has been put on the table, or let me put it this way, the government has asked the CPO to, here's what, let's begin negotiations at 10%. I know that you do have some serious concerns about that.
When I was approached by the media in terms of that, that was the day after the election. I'll put it in context of Alan. I was actually woken up by telephone calls and so on and things. So, you know, a little excited one. I know when, right? First time I get this, I feel like, as they say, I bite up shilling. And then I get in this barrage of questions and so on. I wasn't really talking about the 4%. I was talking about the 5% that they would have accepted just prior to the election on the 18th of April. That's what I was referring to. It was taken out of consideration. I never made a comment on it after, because I said I would use the opportunity after being installed to clarify the point. Right? So it was if it was taken, if I would have said that, I apologize. Right? So that's not what I would have spoken about. I simply was talking about, but they would have, the government and the budget would have already stated that they ratified it and so on and things. So that means they put things in place for payment and things, even for the 5%. I understand that. I was just saying that if you were the president of MAT at one point in time, I would have read. If it is that as the president and as TTUTA itself as a whole, if we can get something better for our members, why would we not consider it? That is all I said. So I'm still saying that. Why would we not consider it? However, if it is on the table, it has been ratified and they're going forward with it, I can't do anything, Crystal can't do anything about that. But if somebody wishes to approach us and tell us, listen, we can't do this for you, we can't make the package a little better or something, we are all ears.
I want to speak a little bit about security. I think that this has been a major issue for teachers and principals and the school population over the years. And of course, in recent times, this government has spoken, has come out very strongly as it relates to school violence. I see where the Minister of Education is now saying that the ministry is reviewing policy on school discipline. It is also a time where you do have police officers on the school compound. Now, there has been an issue too of schools not properly secured. How is the president and the new executive viewing all of this?
The issue of let me deal with the police in the school, police officers in school firstly, right? So TTUTA itself has no problem with the Ministry of Education introducing new measures, once there's consultation and so on, that would improve the safety and security of all personnel on the school. We just simply would ask that, again, make sure that these persons are trained in a manner such that would allow them to interact with both teachers and students. But we have asked for any documentation that the ministry would have in respect of what guidelines and so on you have with respect to these officers in their interaction with staff and children and so on. And we have received none so far. We've been asking that. Now they are normal MTS and other companies and then work in these schools. And we have documents depicting how they're supposed to interact with the children and the staff and so on. But we have nothing in writing at this point in time. So we're asking that whatever material they have, that they share with the union, because we must be aware. You are asking me questions, and sometimes it is difficult to be asked questions that you generally don't have the answers to, because when you ask in Ministry of Education, the information is not forthcoming. So in terms of security at school, you spoke about things like fences. Perimeter fence, I know schools have been asking the Ministry of Education for years. They identify it. You have people coming on the compound, sometimes they steal, they do all sorts of things. And most of the time, the poor principals themselves, they try to solve the problem. So they might try to fix it, they might try to put a fence, they might try to do something. But even in doing that, they're supposed to seek permission from the Ministry of Education. When they're raising funds, they have to seek permission from the Ministry of Education. You have to identify what you're going to use the funds for. You have to, because they want proper accounting. I have no issues with all of that, right? But at the end of the day, don't stifle them. Allow them to do their jobs and so on. Don't encroach on the responsibilities of the principals. Because the Education Act, Section 27, clearly speaks to that. It tells you exactly what the principal has to do and so on. So we don't want the ministry to end up in a situation where they're taking away from them. Allow them to do their jobs. Allow them, and if necessary, hold them accountable. Nothing wrong with that.
Mr. President, I just have less than a minute for you here. Your final comments, sir.
Marlon, all I want is so that the Ministry of Education, the parents, and all the other stakeholders and so on in education, let us work together. Let us deliver to our students that which they deserve. Let us give them the best educational experience possible. Let our teachers have the resources that they need to perform their duties. Do not say that they're not doing the duties if you do have. A man can't go and work taxi without a vehicle. What are you going to tell people on your back? Let's be realistic. So I'm asking kindly that give them what they need. Allow them to do their job. Evaluate them. And let's move on.
Yeah. Mr. President, thank you for giving us the opportunity this morning for getting to know you.
Thank you, Alan. Much appreciated.
We wish you all the best and congratulations on your victory again.
It's a pleasure. And if I may say,
yes,
it's a pleasure meeting you, Mr. Hopkinson. It's good to meet the master.
Thank you. Right. Thank you. Thank you. All right, everybody. We're going to a very short break. We're coming back.
I hear a distant melody blow through the hills of Laventille.